the shaft is inside, of course, the bearings. Like that. Alright, so we have the cluster in. So now here on this side we have just enough room for this last thrust washer and the new circlip. Not sure if you're gonna see from there, but it's just a circlip. Okay, it's in. Just to make sure that it is in, we're gonna try to spin it inside its groove, and it spins. So it is. That's how I test circlips. So now a little bit more glue on this end of the shaft. Make sure we still have the bearing in the input, and I think we can put it in. So you see the problem here, guys? The problem is that the teeth on the input shaft and on the lay gear here are not allowing me to slide, because actually I have an idea. If I switch to gear here, maybe if I put in first gear, or maybe reverse, as long as something helps me here to turn this, maybe that's gonna allow them to slide. No. Okay. So it looks like I have to drop the lay gear down so I can slide this in and then lift the lay gear up again. Looks like I have to put the dummy shaft again, and then we're gonna figure out how to put it back, the other one. So let's see that. Okay, so now the lay gear is down. Oh my god, how are we gonna lift it up? I have no idea. But now we should be able to put this in. There you go. Okay, I can put the circlip. Take it off reverse, and now let's see how we're gonna deal with the lay gear. Oh, okay, that was easy. Okay, and now the only thing that's left here is the circlip on this side. So with this part of the transmission, we are ready. Okay, so now we can put the speedometer gear, and it has direction too. You see how the screws begin with a sharp point here and ends with a flat end. So the sharp point needs to be towards the back according to the pictures there, and it also makes sense because the transmission spins this way unless we are in reverse, but it's mostly spinning this way, and when it's spinning this way, this is where these teeth mesh with I don't know how this goes, just something like that. That's how they mesh together, and every time a new screw needs to engage with the gear, it starts with a sharp point, so that's how it is. And put some glue here again. So this needs to be tapped, maybe like that. Okay, so the gear is in place, and now let's assemble the tail. So now in the tail we need to put the bearing first. I cleaned it inside. Alright, so now I can put the bearing inside, and I have this again brass that will help me to push the bearing in. Again, here we're pushing only on the outer ring of the bearing. And now we can put our seal, which goes as usual with the open part towards the oil and with the enclosed parts outside. So let me try to do a slide also. So like this, and then like this. Okay, it's time to install the tail or the extension here. So we're gonna put some Permatex Forma gasket on this surface, on that surface, and on the gasket both sides, and we're gonna mate them. There's something important here that we need to know. This pin here needs to point down so it fits into this groove here. So that's where the shaft goes, and underneath this little groove is where the pin goes. So I'm just showing you what I'm gonna do because I'm not sure if you're gonna be able to see. Here I can see more or less where the old gasket was. So I'm just gonna stay in those boundaries. And now here, because we have the bearing inside, we're gonna have to tap it gently. It's not gonna go nicely. It's not gonna go easy. We need to tap it, I guess. So again, the pin is pointing down. Now here, we have to match the shaft like this. There you go. I need a deeper socket. Okay, and I'm gonna just keep it a little bit higher for now and start the bolts to make sure that I can arrange the gasket so the bolts can go through. And then once the bolts start, I'm gonna tap it all the way. Okay, now all the bolts are started, and I can just tighten them, and that's gonna pull it down, but that might leave the bearing behind. That's why I'm gonna keep tapping it to make sure that the bearing also goes down. And now I can tighten this. Okay, and now here at the end, very important, is our last thrust washer. It goes against the bearing, and our flange, which this surface needs to be really nice and clean for the seal to ride. And we can put it on. And there you go. And then we have a lock washer and a nut. Now I'm gonna torque this later because I don't know what the torque is. So rear end done. Actually, we still have to do the speedometer gear, but that we're gonna do at the end. So now let's do the bell housing side. So here on the bell housing, we're gonna clean this surface again, and do the same thing with the gasket, and then we're gonna change the seal because we don't want the garbage or the debris to go inside the seal. So now let's see how we're gonna take this seal out, because I'm not really sure. Okay. Okay, so now new seal, again with the open part towards the oil, which is this side. Now I have this socket which fits just right inside here, so it's gonna press only on the outer ring. We don't want to damage it. Maybe just to get it started I'm gonna do this, and then we're gonna remove it. Now we will remove the socket. And it's in. Now here I'm not really sure what seals this part to this part. It looks like there was nothing there before, but I don't trust it, so I'm just gonna put a little bit of gasket maker. It wouldn't hurt. And now there's a hole here and a pin that needs to match. There you go. So I guess the bearing pushes against this. That's how it is. Alright, so just like before, we have gasket maker here, we have gasket maker on this surface, we have the actual gasket with gasket maker on it, both sides. We have the 5 bolts here, and this is important. One of them needs to have copper washer. This is the one here, because this hole leads directly into the casing. These other holes on the side, they are through holes on the outside, and these two as well, but this one goes directly inside the casing, so it needs to be sealed. That's why there we have a copper washer. And also another important thing is these 3 springs here that go into these 3 holes. They are similar to the ones that we have on the hub assemblies, but these are even longer than the longer ones there. They press against the thrust washer on the leg gear. And that's it. So now we can install the gasket and the bell housing. Alright, so it's time to install the top cover with the selector mechanism here. So this is how we select gears. These are the forks, so this fork needs to go right inside here, inside this sleeve, and this fork needs to go around this sleeve, because you know these gears here are for the reverse. So this goes around it like that, and in the meantime we need to be careful. Also this slot here needs to fit around this pin for the reverse. So if we put everything in neutral here, which is right there, I believe, yeah, that's first, second, neutral, and then this is fourth and third and neutral. And so these are all at the same position, so this should fit now perfectly, because reverse is off, this is neutral between first and second, this is in neutral between fourth and third. So now it should fit. I'm just gonna test fit it, and if it fits nicely, then we're gonna put the gasket maker and everything. There you go. I can even see from here the pin for reverse. That fits right in place, and then here there are locating pins like this. Okay, so everything is okay, but it's important to do the test fit first. before we put the gasket maker, right? All right, let's do that again. And now here we have 9 bolts, and 2 of them are longer for here. So here are the longer ones. Everything else is the same length. And this is the last part here, which is the actual selector. So here, as far as I can see and feel, everything is nice and tight, so I didn't do anything. But normally if these bushings are worn, then you're gonna have a lot of play here, and you're gonna have a lot of play on the actual shifter inside the car. This is what affects that. And I have a video on my Spitfire how I made bushings for here, because I bought plastic bushings first and they disintegrated right away. So then I went ahead and I made my own bushings, and now everything works great. So here I haven't touched anything. So how this works is with this pin here, which you control how far left or right it goes with the shifter, and how far forward or backwards goes. It goes into one of these 3 slots, and because there's this slot, you always have to return slider you're using. You have to return it to neutral so it lines up with the other ones, so you can slide out this bow and go to the next slider or different. So that's how you can select 2 gears at the same time, because you saw how the hubs were separated. You can always select third and first in the same time, right? And that would create a mess. But because of this here, this bow cannot go into the next slot before you return this slot into the neutral position. I hope that makes sense, because how I explain it, maybe not. Okay, so now when we install it, we have to make sure that the pin fits inside those channels, right? There you go. And now here we have 4 lock washers with 4 nuts. Alright, and last but not least, let's deal with this speedometer gear, which is pretty simple. So we should have a seal here, and we bought a new one. I'm gonna try to take this one out when it is mounted there, because now it's pretty loose and I don't want to squeeze it in the vise. So let's change this o-ring first, but really, I have this o-ring here, which I don't like. I think the old o-ring is better than the new ones. Let me try something here. Yeah, this is not gonna work for sure. This is not gonna work for sure, so here I'm gonna leave the old one. The old one is pretty nice and pliable still, stretchy, so there's nothing wrong with it. I'm gonna leave the old one because this is ridiculous what they sent me. That's not what I need. But this can be changed from outside of the car anyways. So we're gonna grease it a little bit. So I'm gonna put it in temporarily without the shaft, so I can remove the seal. So there's this hole here where this screw goes, and we need to be able to match it somehow. Okay, I think that's it. Yeah. Now it's gonna be easier for me to remove the seal from here, I guess. Ha! It landed right there where it belongs. So now I have to take this out again. Now here we have to be careful because this is aluminum part. We don't want to crack it or anything. So again, I'm gonna do the same thing here first with a flat piece. So just to start it with the flat piece, but I'm watching underneath. I don't want to bend it or anything. And it's started and it's flush with the surface now. So now I can take this out and keep pressing it in. So that's 11/32 socket. It fits just right inside the bore for the seal. There you go. So the seal is inside. Now we can put everything back together. And now the shaft can go back in with some lube on the gear again. So it goes from underneath up. And this is where the seal seals the oil and keeps it inside around this shaft. And the O-ring supposedly keeps the oil from outside to go wherever it doesn't need to go out. And now we can line up again the hole here. All right, and last but not least, I don't know if this is gonna fit there. The new switch for reverse, I hope it's gonna fit because, yeah, because I forgot about it. However, it has this plastic spacer actually on this one. Okay, so I pull this plastic spacer from here and yeah, looks like they are the same length. So I'm gonna put it here, and that's important because here, when you put it in the reverse, this shaft that goes back and forth comes and hits this bowl. There's a slot actually in this shaft. If the bowl is too high, it's not gonna fall into the slot, or if it is too low, it's not gonna allow the shaft to move back and forth. So it's like trial and error. We're gonna have to try it with the spacer and we will see. If it doesn't work, then we're gonna try it without it, or actually what I can do is I can put it without spacer and we're gonna start testing it. So let's see without the spacer if we can put in reverse. And that's reverse. So let's see what the switch shows now. Yes, it's short. And when we come out of reverse, it's not. So it is perfect. We don't need the spacer. I'm just gonna put gasket maker there. So I bent the pins a little bit so the wires can go there. It's really in uncomfortable position there. And that's it. It's done. I think we're all assembled. I just need to torque some bolts and then we're gonna be ready to test it. All right, so we have our testing rig set again and we're gonna test the transmission now. There's no oil in it, but we have just enough of the assembly goo that we put everywhere, so it is pretty safe to run it for a few minutes in a very low speed because this motor can't produce too much torque anyways. I think we determined it was 1/3 horse, so it's not pretty strong. I know that some people are concerned about turning the gear from behind, but that's virtually the same thing as if you're going downhill and you're in gear and you press the clutch. Your transmission still gets spinned by the wheels from behind, and the only thing is that when you press the clutch, now you disconnect the input shaft from the motor. And there's another difference actually, that the gears now, the ratios are reversed. So it's going to be the easiest to spin is going to be the fourth, and the hardest to spin from behind is the first. Hence, we put our transmission in first when we park the car, right? So the wheels are having really hard time to turn the transmission and the engine when you're in first gear. But if you put it in fourth, there is a possibility that if you're on downhill, your car might start going downhill on its own because the wheels are going to spin the transmission and the engine through it. So that's the thing. So let's test it, and we're going to start from fourth because the fourth is going to be the easiest to turn, and then we're going to go third, second and first gear. And again, we can change gears without stopping the motor because now our clutch is not connected to anything, so it is the equivalent of driving the car and changing gears with the clutch disengaged. So I can change gears, no problem. And the goal of this test is to see if it goes in all the gears and spins, and to test the synchros too, to see if we are able to switch gears as the wheels are turning. So that's the whole point of this test. So let's see, now we are in neutral. It's very wobbly, I have to do something about that, but some other time. So let's see, we're going in fourth now. There you go. Third. Second. First. Okay. And for reverse, we don't have a synchro for reverse, so we have to turn it off and engage and put it in first and then power it again. And no, that's not gonna work. The ratio is gonna burn the motor. Yeah, I don't want to burn the motor. Yeah, the ratio is too high for reverse to try on its own. Let me try manually from here. Yeah, so now it spins in reverse. But the motor can't spin it from behind because the ratio is crazy for this little motor. Okay, let's not torture it anymore because it has no oil. So that's it, mission completed. Oh, and there's something that I'm forgetting. We need to remove this old bearing from here and press in the new one. I haven't even checked if it is the right one. Yeah, it looks the same. Okay. So I'm gonna do that on my own, and we're gonna send this to Barry. He's gonna have to do something about his fork, because this fork, we said it's damaged, but I couldn't find one to buy for him, but he said that he might be able to find one. And also he needs to weld his bell housing here where it holds the slave cylinder. Said that he has skills about that, he can weld aluminum, so he's gonna take care of that. Everything else is complete. So that's the end of this series. I'm happy that we managed to bring this transmission back to life, and we made one more Triumph owner happy. So that's it, guys. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more videos of other rusty beauties like this one, for example. And there's so many other rusty beauties that are waiting on the line that it's crazy, but one day we're gonna get to them. So that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye. Well, I forgot to test this switch, so I just hooked it up to my power source here and to my test light, and let's see if it is gonna work. There you go, reverse, and it comes on. So it works well. Let's try other gears just in case. So first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. We're not gonna try fifth and sixth. So it works only on reverse. So done. Great.